Ow, it shocked the mess out of me.
Really good results like I have. Let me know in the comments, please. Working on this air-cooled York today. This oil line, he ruptured right there at the bottom of that valve. It's honestly kind of a weak spot. I really hate that York did this. Now this is a YCIV, so it's an older design. Where this T comes off right here, it cracked right along that T. We were able to salvage out of 230 pounds, 180 of it. During the repair, we're not going to go back with the original T design. I really don't like this anyway. So I'm going to cut it right here on the back side of this T, and we're going to put in this ball valve. And so I'm going to set it probably right here, except probably on this low side. And we'll put it here, and I'll put a little piece and a 90 up. And this will be our new service valve, and it'll be isolation and things. It's going to be a lot better and easier to try to do it this way versus that. And I didn't want to completely cut it out. Now granted, putting it up here, we lose our low point, which is unfortunate, but it's I feel like this was probably our best option given the age of the equipment. The other issue there is it's too long to try to put in here without completely redoing how this line is ran, and I don't feel like that's a good solution either. I'd rather try to keep factory piping as close as I can. So anyway, end of the result, it's going to go right here. This is that crack. Pretty crazy, honestly. It's just a weak point from manufacturer's design. I'm not crazy with how they did this, but they did. We're gonna just completely remove this whole section. This will go up here. I can reuse this little bit of pipe to piece in the rest with some fittings. So that'll be our next step. So I'm gonna go ahead and start getting everything cleaned up and prepped. Well, it's coming together very nicely. We got all the joints done. It's pretty easy, honestly, getting in there. I got 50 pounds on the system, verified we didn't have any significant leaks. Put some big blue bubbles on it, and nothing is showing up. So our next step, we're going to take this up to 100 psi. We're going to take lunch and see how it's doing. We come back, everything's good, and we're holding, then we're good to go. We did hold 50 psi for about 10 minutes, and it hadn't moved whatsoever, even at 50. So I think we're looking really good. I feel pretty confident with those braze joints. They look good. All the filler looked like it got everywhere. Got some good capillary action. So one of the things that I like to do is do my pressure testing in stages. So I'll start off at maybe like 20-25 psi usually. Make that stage 1, let it hold for a few minutes, make sure that it will, and then I can do some basic leak testing then. If we hold 25 without any issue, then I'll step it up to like a 50 psi and check it one more time. And my goal there is to minimize how much we're using of the nitrogen, so that we don't try to go straight to 100 psi every time and we waste huge amounts of material at that point. And especially on a building like this, it's really difficult to get these big huge tanks up on a roof. So this is my way of trying to minimize that and be just a little more proficient and efficient with the material. And when I say material, I mean the nitrogen and stuff like that. So it works out really well for me. It's a system I highly recommend that y'all try for yourselves on any system out there. I do this across the board, whether it be a 400-ton chiller or a 5-ton package unit. Well, the pressure test did perfect. We came back, it was about an hour and a half-ish, and we didn't move 1 psi. So now we've got all the nitrogen pulled from the system. We're just cleaning things up, getting ready to do the cores. Cores look okay, you know, I mean they're slightly changed in color, but overall the system wasn't having an issue. It just the line cracked, so it just sucks. Anyway, from here we'll get the cores done. We'll start prepping to pull vacuum. We'll get the good old set of Appion going. Get the Tez 8 prepped, just ready to be rock and roll. And we'll end up doing an overnight vacuum. So what we'll do here is, once we get the vacuum started, we'll give it an hour or two to run. We'll get a fresh oil change on it. We'll be right at the end of the day at that point. We'll do a final cleanup for the day,
and then we will come back tomorrow morning. Hopefully expect the vacuum to be finished by then and ready to start charging the system and get startup going. As a reminder, anytime you're ever doing dryer cores that's out of a shell, always make sure you change the gasket. And I don't just put a new gasket on top of an old one. I don't agree with that. Take the time, remove the old gasket, get it completely out, clean that groove up, put some Nylog in there as well, and then that'll help it seal really well and you won't have issues with it. So always make sure when you're putting these caps back on that you go at like a basically like you're doing a car tire. All right, so you've got 8 bolts and you've got to do a cross pattern, and the very first thing I recommend is slowly get them all tightened down and to where they're touching and snug. That way you know it's all even, and you can visually look at that and kind of a side view and see that everything's even, everything's touching, and it's not obvious that, you know, one side is pulled in more than the other. Once you've confirmed that, then you can go ahead and start doing your cross pattern to do your final tightening down.
TES 8 is in action. We've got a 3/8 to 3/8 coming off the liquid line. I've got a 3/8 with a 1/2 inch going over to a 1/4 inch line I pulled the Schrader out of off that ball valve we just put in. And then I got off of the suction here our micron tap for the gauge. So I literally just turned it on, so we're pulling down. Got a little more bend in the hoses than I was shooting for, but it's kind of funky the way they do all their valves on these anyways. Not going to get it perfect. We'll start cleaning up, start getting things kind of tidied up for the end of the day, and my expectation is that we'll at least start to get down below that 25,000 and let it start pulling. As long as I see that or just see some kind of movement on my microns, I'll be honestly pretty happy. And I do fully expect us to be there by tomorrow morning. Honestly, there's a really high chance that we'll be down, you know, to 1,000 or in the thousands before we even finish. That won't surprise me at all today. It's going a lot better than I expected. We just changed it. We're down to 700 already, so making way better time than I honestly thought we would. And the oil didn't look terrible. I did just change it. I am going to still let it sit overnight, so we're going to go ahead, finish wrapping up for the day, and make a plan to come back in the morning. I've got utmost confidence it'll be finished, ready to go by then. We'll get all the refrigerant back in it and roll on. Absolutely wonderful. It is the next morning. We're at 340 on the vacuum. They look absolutely fantastic. So our next step is I'm going to use our new valve we just put in, and we're going to pull the oil in that we need into the system. We'll get the separator filled back up, and then at that point we'll be good. We'll start charging into the liquid line and we'll get all of our charge back in. So we only lost the 60 pounds. We'll replenish it with that. We're back at factory charge, 230 pounds. Everything goes well, we'll be out of here by lunch. Something I suggest every time that you go to use your recovery, make sure that you're taking this little suction port off and actually checking it. You can see, and it's just accumulation of things, whether it be sitting in the truck or stuff gets in your hoses, stuff in the system, stuff in the tank. Just be really mindful of that. It's really going to slow you down and hold up your process. So I've actually started to create a habit here recently after having an issue with it a couple of times, where I'm pulling that, checking it each time, and making sure we're clean before we even start. I do want to make a note here. You know, each of these steps as we go through them take time. There's a lot of things that happen that all you have to do is just be patient and wait. Like right now, waiting on that oil to pull in. It's pulling in perfectly fine, but it's going to take time to pull in the amount of oil that I need to. I mean, it's a 5-gallon drum, for instance. So what I'm doing this whole time is I'm prepping for the charge. My very next step is to get my charge in. I've got my tank set up, I got my adapter on, my hose, I got my recovery prepped, I cleaned the filter, I got my adapter on that 3/8. You know, I'm about to pack up all my vacuum stuff, clean up the job site some more, get ready. You know, I still got my cutters there I need to pack up. So there's just a lot of little things that need to be done. I still need to pack up my micron gauge, All of this can be done right now. So while I'm waiting on that oil, it's a great time to do it. Well, yesterday, while I was waiting on the vacuum to pull down, make sure that it was a great time. We started packing stuff up. We started moving stuff down the stairwell and getting ready to move out for the day. So just keep that in mind, and always pay attention to your job site management and be thinking about, okay, what's the most efficient way and proficient way we can try to work and get this done and make it as effective and as efficient as possible. So part of what I did here, I used this hose to get the oil in. I got the separator filled up. I replenished all the oil we lost when the line ruptured. So I went ahead and I'm using this same hose to charge with so that I can clean that hose out, right? I like to try to keep my hoses clean and prepped, and since I was going to be charging, having that liquid refrigerant flow through there, it's going to purge all that oil and anything back into the system to make sure that, you know, I don't have a hose full of oil sitting in my bag. Next time I hook up to a mineral oil system, you know, it blows a bunch of POE oil and it causes all kinds of problems. Anyway, so we are charging. We should be pulling out of a vacuum, so I'm going to be pulling my probe off. This is ice over pretty heavy. I've got all the EXVs open, and on this machine, if you don't know, when you open the EXVs, make sure that you unplug them. So there's your feed valve. Drain valve is down there on that end. If you don't unplug them, when you come out of service mode from opening them, they will close back on their own. So you got to open them in service mode, unhook the wire, then you can come out of service mode and let the machine turn back on in regular operation. That way you can keep your valves open. So I got all the valves open. Everything's filling up, doing its job. I'm going to put the Schrader core back in that ball valve with a new oil valve, and I'll be able to take that off. I'll be completely done with that part of it. There's still a little bit of oil residue cleanup to do, but overall we're making a good time. We lost a lot of oil due to what happened. Ow, it shocked the mess out of me. Friggin' static charge. I felt it too. I put my leg up against the gas pipe, and then I just touched this, the hose here, and I felt the charge come somewhere, whether it come through my finger. I felt it on my leg first. I don't know, it was weird. 10:05 right now. We're gonna mark the time. We've got 230 pounds to move. Got the Appion G5 cracking at it, doing the straight liquid. We'll see how long it takes. So we got this tank, that small tank, and then we've got both of these that we're going to be adding in there. That's the nitrogen, so don't mix that up. Anyway, this is what we got to put in. Let's see how long it takes us. My prediction right now, like I said, it is starting at 10:05. I'm expecting by 11 to 11:10 a.m. we'll be done, and I'll have this thing turned on and running somewhere between 11:30 and probably finishing that part of it, the startup, by 12. And then, you know, I should have everything back in the truck and us pulling out of here hopefully somewhere around 12:30. So something I've talked about before was doing a push-pull type video and testing other types of more traditional charging methods, you know, and I've talked about that in the past, and I made a couple of videos heavily discussing it, and I've even done a video explaining how those processes work, and I've done them in the past, but I've not like actually done an intentional side-by-side comparison before. So it's not that I haven't done it, I don't have one filmed, and I don't know when I'm going to get to. I was hoping to a while back, but honestly things have gotten so busy that it's been really hard to make that time and to keep up with that stuff. So I've just chosen to just keep moving, and I'll eventually be in a situation where I might be able to actually do that. These G5s and their ability to pump straight liquid the way that they can and how they function is just so much more manageable, feasible, and it makes a lot more sense than you know, than it does to me trying to do a push-pull, right? So it's not that push-pull or any of those are bad, but don't get me wrong, they're great methods, but they were also necessary at one time. At one time, the only thing we had was like the Yellow Jacket recoveries and things that had little recips in them. And those compressors were not able to move liquid refrigerant. And these G5s, they actually can. Now you can put straight liquid through it, and it's designed to do straight liquid. The valves and things that they did in there were intentionally set up that way. I don't see it as necessary as it used to be. You know, at that time, it was faster, it made more sense, and it was almost required to do a push-pull style recovery or charge method with the machines that were available. And it's hard to beat. I mean, I'm dead serious when I say I expect to do 200 something pounds and right at or just over an hour. I'm legitimately mean that. Like I can move that much weight in that short a time doing it this way. So it's just, I don't know, everybody's got the experience. I'm really interested in some input. I had some great input last time I talked about it, and I know quite a few of you have been watching my stuff for quite a while, and I'm curious, has anybody that maybe used to do push-pull tried with a G5 just a straight liquid charge? What has that experience done for you? Have you seen really good results like I have? Let me know in the comments, please.
All these tanks, I already know what the weight is. I know that I just need to add everything in these tanks and I'm good. Part of what I'm doing too, because I'm not using a scale and I don't plan to, I don't need to. What I'm doing is I'm monitoring this hose. And so you see how it's got that shake and shudder? That's because liquid is moving through here, and to a small degree has a little bit of just flash, and just the momentum of the liquid flow is causing that jerk movement. That's what I'm using to monitor. As soon as I get out of the liquid phase of this tank to where the only thing I'm pulling is now vapor, that hose is going to stop jumping, and it's just going to go like you would normally see on a typical recovery. It's not jumping around, it's just sitting there idle, maybe has a slight little bit of vibration. Usually I'll put a gauge on the suction port here and watch it pull down. Actually, what's funny is as I'm talking, see how it's gone just perfectly quiet? We've gotten the liquid out. There's no more, we're not pulling liquid anymore, we're pulling just strictly vapor, just based off of that. So that's good. This tank's almost done.
In case you've never seen it before, be careful. Don't just go off of the color code. This blue is actually the liquid, and this red says gas. That's your vapor.
All right, I called it. It is 11:05. We got every tank emptied and put in. Now I'm doing just a final pull, like just probably a 60, 120 second pull on each one, just to make sure I get the final little bit of vapor. So I'll do one here, one here. I'll hit that recovery one more time. Those two virgin tanks, they're done. They're down in a full vacuum. So anyway, a couple more minutes, pull a little bit of extra vapor off. But we did 230 pounds, and we're talking exactly an hour. I mean, to the dot.
The charge is done. Next step, we're going to hook these valves back up. This is the new style. And then we're going to calibrate them. I'm going to flip it to off, go to service, and we will input the code. Okay, then we're going to cycle over. There's digital outputs, analog outputs, system 1 feed valve. We're going to go to 100 and enter. Alright, and then we're going to cycle down. Go to system 1 drain valve, 100, enter. Okay, we're going to give both of those a couple of minutes to settle out. Part of what you can do, you probably won't hear it, but you can hear the valves ticking, and when they hit their dead stops and they're done moving, you'll hear them stop. Now it takes basically about 30 seconds. You give them 30 to 60 seconds, but they just stopped, then you're good. From there we will go back 0, enter,
and then cycle back up, 0, enter. Now they're going to move to full closed, which is their default standing position. So at startup, both of those valves need to be at full closed. At that point, they're fully calibrated. We're good to go. By just cycling back out of that menu, you come out of the service mode. We'll cycle back over to run. And now I need to call the building engineer, have them activate the chiller. We'll get this circuit online, make sure it's not going to blow up. And we'll be able to verify our oil level and refrigerant levels, and everything looks good.
We look really good. We got a 41 leaving, 41 and a half with a 42 set point, 45 entering, so there's not a ton of load. It's kind of a cool day. We're in the season where we're back and forth. You know, it's literally 100 degrees one day, 50 the next. Oil pressures look good. Temperatures look pretty good. Our saturation looks real good with our superheat, 8 degrees. So we're maintaining real good. Like I said, we got a really low load, so we got to keep that in mind. Discharge superheat looks fine. Motor temps are looking fine. We're only running 66. Compressor's ramping down right now. It's unloading. Our flash tank looks good. Our feed valve looks really good. Just the consensus here is it looks really good. Really happy with what we've got. So with that, I'm gonna check out. This job's done. We're gonna pack up. We're gonna get out of here. MTT guys, take care of your family, take care of your spouse. We're going into summer, making sure you're taking care of yourself, and look out for your coworkers. Make sure that they're not getting themselves in a dangerous spot. You see somebody turning red, or getting kind of slurred in their speech, just not making sense. It's very possible they may be having some kind of overheating issue, heat stroke, whatever. So look out for your fellow man, and take care of your families this summer. Be safe.